I really like training teamwork for self-defense rather than trying to learn any of the fancy specific techniques from the realms of martial arts. For instance, in my last self-defense class, we were looking at how teamwork can be used against larger weapons like baseball bats or similar things. Before we did the teamwork exercise though, we did a little warm-up. We were practicing our timing, which kind of looked like this, where one person had a stick and was just swinging it rhythmically, and people were practicing stepping out of range, and then while the bat was kind of not moving at the end of each swing, stepping way inside the range, and then stopping it from moving, not really catching it necessarily, not doing a disarm. We didn't look at any specific grips or stances or footwork or anything like that. It was just whatever felt natural for each person. We were really just practicing the timing part of it, stepping in at the appropriate time. And then we took that and we started playing games in teams of 2, which usually just meant like waiting for the stick person to start swinging at your teammate, and then while they were distracted with that person, stepping in and stopping the stick from moving. And the person with the stick was defeated every single time, right? The people acting as a team were successful every time, and really no round ever lasted more than a few seconds because teamwork is just that effective and there's no skill to it, there's no technique to it. But we did periodically stop to talk about what was working for everyone, what wasn't working for everyone. We talked about like grabbing the bat itself versus grabbing the arm or the hand of the person with the stick. We talked about hugging and tackling and stuff, and really what it was like to work with a teammate versus trying to do this bat grabbing alone. And it really just drives home the point with everybody that working alone is just unnecessarily difficult if a teammate is available. But what people had the most trouble with was trying to coordinate their timing with their teammate. Like once the action had actually started, deciding in the moment who was approaching, who was flanking, who was going to be going in, etc., you know, like the timing of it all. So the crux of self-defense comes back again to verbal communication. It has left the realm of martial arts now. This is just like learning to constantly shout at your teammate what you're about to do, what you want them to do, and really just being okay with your opponent hearing all of this information and knowing yourself that the more information that is just out there in the air, that preference is the people working as a team. And if you're silent, that preference is the person working alone. And I think that that comes from that we've trained ourselves to be silent as people who spar combat sports, right? So in boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, right, we all just like shut up as soon as the round starts. And that is really hard to untrain, it turns out. So this leads to why I'm always working on verbal training with everybody. So like whenever we're doing any sort of physical training, I'm having people do like pairing their fast talk with a grip sparring, or working on their distracting conversation while they're doing like positional sparring or jiu-jitsu or whatnot. And then what we did this time was essentially practicing pulling in a bystander and then giving them directions, because turning a bystander into a teammate just makes everything so much easier, especially when you are outclassed by, you know, someone with a weapon or someone who's bigger than you or someone whose martial arts are better than you. As long as you're giving enough verbal directions to the bystanders so that they don't freeze up or take too long to intervene. And if you want to replicate this training, which I really encourage you to do, you don't actually even need a fancy foam baseball bat like we used. You can really just use any lightweight object that's not going to hurt anybody. But the key is to play games and to have fun with it, and just be very careful not to get caught up in practicing a specific martial arts move.